Hi, Michael Force here again. Welcome to base lesson number 2. In this lesson, we're going to show you how to set up your legal entity, also your business banking, and make sure you have proper accounting, what tools to use, what tools to avoid, what platforms you should use. There's a lot of online stuff that you can utilize too to really make it super simple and how everything ties together. Make sure you're not paying yourself out of your personal bank account or taking your PayPal commissions or wherever you're getting your commissions from different affiliate offers and putting them in your, into some personal account. We want to make sure that you're getting proper tax write-offs, make sure that your business is set up for the long term, all the way up the mountain. There's no shortcuts here. We're not looking to essentially, there's going to be shortcuts to learning. There's going to be shortcuts to leveraging my experience and what I've learned over the years myself and all the trials and errors that I've been through. But ultimately, we want to make sure that we do the work to get you set up properly, to make sure this business lasts a very long time for you. It can feed your family and you for life. So let's jump into lesson 2 here, how to set up a legal entity, business banking, and proper accounting, and I'll see you on the inside. Force here again. Welcome to lesson number 2 here with the base business mastery course here. Let's jump into it, how to set up essential business planning and your entity and accounting here. So let's dig in here. Now, the strategy for starting a business isn't just a straight line like many people think. The success path is really what you see here to the right. It's kind of it's not just a direct line. You're going to be doing all kinds of things and they're going to be kind of all over the place. But the key is, as I said in the earlier lesson here, the previous lesson, was it's really what you do on a daily basis and how you manage yourself, your time, your discipline, your drive, your determination, your mindset is really ultimately what deters the success. Ideas and things like that are of course important, but honestly, 95% of great ideas fail every single day. It's the execution that creates success, and that has a lot to do with the person. So let's talk about that. The lesson we learn here really is keeping your day job alive is often an important piece to your success. It might provide the security or funding required to launch a startup. Now, on the flip side, you got to think that you do want to be successful. The key to launching a startup is timing. The solution is planning, determination, and really faith. Module 2 is about effective business planning and legal. Well, this might seem like a doorstep or door area a little more boring to the startup in your venture, but it's absolutely necessary. Entrepreneurs who avoid these steps have been known to lose their legal battle or gone broke because of an insufficient plan. So let's jump in. We must remember that the base is a transformational course, not an information course. It's a place where entrepreneurs learn by experience and action. By going through these important steps, you have the knowledge and the experience to make your startup work. We're going to discuss the following areas today. How to choose the correct legal entity for your business. Number 2, setting up your company bank account system and payroll. Number 3, locking down your trademarks. And lastly, how to write an effective business plan. So here we go. How to choose the correct legal entity for your business. In my experience, new entrepreneurs avoid setting up their legal entity because they think if my business succeeds, then I'll take care of it later. Well, I can tell you that's absolutely wrong. This attitude and plan is a plan for failure. Here at DA, we act as if we know we will succeed. We plan with no thought to the what if. You are here to start a company and be successful. There are certain steps required to do this, and this is one of them. As for legal entities, if you do nothing, your business by default is structured as either a general partnership with multiple owners or a sole proprietorship, which is the sole owner. The problem with that is that if you might not be the best structure for your business. I'm going to discuss the 3 most common legal entity structures used by startups, so pay very close attention. You have to choose one of the following as one of your tasks. Number 1 is the sole proprietorship. This is the simplest legal structure and is the most popular among solo of the business owners. The business essentially acts as an extension of you. Your expenses and your income from the business are included in your personal income tax return. Here are the pros of the sole proprietorship. Any financial losses you startup may encounter in a year can be used to offset the taxable income you earn from other sources. For example, this means if you have invested tens of thousands of dollars in your startup this year, the company, all only made back $8,000, you'd be able to deduct $2,000 of your personal taxable income, even if it was income from another source, say like a day job, some freelance projects. You cannot do this with the corporation. Any other account, like a sole proprietorship, is low cost and easy option for you to test your startup concept before rolling your business into another structure, say like an LLC. So let's talk about some of the cons. If someone sues your business, or you fail to make a company credit card payment, or you file bankruptcy, your personal assets, including your home and your cars, may be at risk and even seized. So who is a sole proprietorship best for? Companies with 5 employees or less, typically. Independent consultants, bloggers, freelancers, and craftsmen. Now, next up is the corporation. A corporation is an independent legal entity separate from its owners. Think of it like its own person. It doesn't have to be a birth certificate per se. It does have its own form of social security number. It's called an EIN, which stands for Employment Identification Number. It also has its own rules, which we'll call by law and description of the entity, which is called the Articles of Incorporation. The company is owned by shareholders who will ask it to be guided by a board of directors who then hire officers, say like a CEO, CFO, or COO, run the company. Depending on how the corporation is set up, the profits are then distributed to the shareholders in the form of a dividend. What makes a corporation so popular among entrepreneurs and startups is the protection it offers business owners in the case of a lawsuit or bankruptcy. Because the corporation is in its entity, and any lawsuits or liability is placed on the company instead of the owners. For example, say you got into trouble for using a photographer's photos on your blog for the past 6 months. His price range photo was $400. You've got 56 of them on your website. That's $22,400. If the photographer chooses to open a lawsuit, it will be against your corporation, not you. If you lost the case to the photographer and they get any money and assets owned by the corporation, and your personal assets will remain protected behind the corporate veil. But to make this is just a bit more complex. There are 2 ways to classify your corporation. First is a C Corp, otherwise known as the standard corporation. The second is an S Corp, which gets the name from the IRS Code Subchapter S. Stay with me here. The difference between these 2 classifications is this. The C Corporation is its own taxable entity. It must file its own tax return and pay taxes at the corporate level. Consequently, this can cause double taxation, which is not good. It's when the corporation has to pay taxes on its income, and then the shareholders have to pay it again on their actual dividends. The S Corporation is called a personal entity. This is how some companies are set up. This means at the end of the year, they will file informational tax returns to the IRS, but no taxes will be paid at the corporate level. The profits and losses are passed on to the original shareholder or shareholders, in the instance of a company reported on their personal tax return. In my opinion, this is a good classification for those who choose the corporation. There's no additional cost, and it offers more opportunities for business owners to get creative with their taxes. Let's look at the pros and cons of the corporation. The first pro is the corporation's debt, not considered as shareholders. You won't have to risk your own personal assets if the company defaults or seeks bankruptcy. Second, it offers legal protection in the case of a lawsuit or a tax or corporate dispute. Third, it offers creative ways to write off expenses and manage your tax liability. Fourth, it offers an increased credibility when approaching vendors, team members, or looking for an investment. Fifth, it is the best entity for taking on future investors because of the ease of selling shares or stock in the company. Sixth, it's very easy to sell as an entity separate from your personal assets and liabilities. Lastly, it's a great option for your business if you have multiple partners. What about the cons? Number 1 is the corporation is more expensive to set up, approximately $1,000 or more in some states. Number 2, the corporation is complex and requires a moderate level of attention from officers who perform their duties. Number 3, there are more states and federal regulations to be followed as well. Last on the list is the limited liability company, otherwise known as the LLC. By default, an LLC is considered a personal entity, similar to a sole proprietorship or an S corporation. But ultimately, corporations and LLC have the same benefit to their owners. They won't be personally liable for their debts or claims against the business. But there are 3 main areas in which the LLC and the corporation are different. Management. Number 2 is titles. And number 3 is required formalities. What the corporation management is in the hands of its board of directors, which is often the business owners. LLCs offer more flexibility in that the business can be managed by all others, not just the board, and can be managed by anyone, not just the officers. Secondly, in an LLC, shareholders are called members and officers are called managers. In the case of selling ownership, it's not called stock, but percentages or units. Lastly, corporations are required to hold meetings of shareholders and the board of directors to prepare a record on those meetings, which are called minutes. These requirements don't apply to LLC. It's the simplicity of the LLC that makes them an easy option for startups. Here are the pros and cons to an LLC. The first pro is the members enjoy limited liability, which means they are personally protected from any liability of successful judgments or lawsuits against the LLC. Number two is for non-active members. The bottom line is profit is not considered earned income and therefore is not subjective to self-employment tax, which will save you a good chunk of money come tax season. Number three, the managing member of an LLC can deduct 100% of their health insurance premiums from the company. Cons. Number one is more states require an annual fee. As in California, it was about $800 a year. Number two, for active managing members, profits of an LLC are subject to self-employment tax, which includes paying Medicare and Social Security taxes, which dive deep into personal and take-home pay. I know what you're thinking. Wow, that was intense. You're right, but being an entrepreneur, you have to know a little bit about everything. This includes legal, finance, and even HR. But don't feel overwhelmed. Personally, I'm a creative entrepreneur. Even writing these modules, curriculums, makes my brain hurt. But it's just one of those critical pieces required to work for yourself. Here's your first task. Define which legal entity is best for your business and formalize it. Once you make a decision, there are a few hundred ways to move forward. You can hire an attorney to help you create and file a correct documentation to file the state and IRS. This is going to cost you between $600 or even $2,000. Or you can do what I do, is go to LegalZoom.com. Know that they didn't pay me just to say that, but just to offer the easiest solution out there. I've set up literally every single business I've ever owned through LegalZoom and it's worked perfectly. Remember, as the company grows, you may want to modify some of the documentation, but you can do what you have to, actually, once you have money coming in. For now, it's just your business set up, legalized, and launched. Next is setting up your company, bank account, and personal payroll, or basic payroll. I'm not going to spend a lot of time here, but what I want to show you is a few lessons I've learned along the way. First thing is this. At the core, business is about money. If you don't have an adequate financial system in place, you'll never succeed, period. Once you legalize your business, you'll have to set up a corporate bank account to start accepting money from your customers. Here's what you'll need on your way to the bank. For corporations, you'll need your articles of incorporation, your EIN number, and all the shareholders present with valid IDs or a signed corporate resolution saying you can open a bank account for the rest of the partners. If you don't have an EIN, you can immediately go get one on the IRS website. It's actually very easy to do. For LLCs, you'll need your EIN, your articles of organization, all members present with valid IDs or signed declaration of business to set up the company bank account. For sole proprietorships, all you need is 2 forms of IDs, a business license or proof of the registered name. Again, you can get this on LegalZoom. As for a bank structure, here's what I've always done in the past. Set up a business checking account for processing payments and paying all the day-to-day bills and salaries. This would also include corporate checks. Then set up a business savings account for putting aside money for future products, equipment, initiatives, and your taxes. Lastly, you want to set up a personal bank account system and payroll. Basically, this means a software that you can use to track your invoices, payables to vendors, process your own paycheck, and create important monthly, quarterly, and annual taxes for the tax season. Luckily, over the past few years, it's become quite easy to do this. There are 3 softwares I'd recommend. The first is FreshBooks. This is a basic accounting system that works well for simple businesses, typically sole proprietorships. It's easy to use, it's well designed, and it's very affordable. The second is QuickBooks Online. This is what I use because it offers a more robust accounting system. If you're a corporation or LLC and plan to have multiple employees, this is your best option. The last service is ADP. Over the years, I've learned to pay myself as an employee of my own company. It's actually been almost 15 years I've done that. This might be considered ineffective by some accountants, but it's kept my tax preparation simple. And the automatic deposit feature keeps my income consistent. Furthermore, if you plan to buy a house or a car with credit, most lenders require 2 years of payroll history from the same company. By treating myself as an employee, I get to skip the dreadful process of qualifying for credit as a self-employed entrepreneur. But it's important to note you don't have to manage the staff forever. Once your business begins to make some money, I suggest hiring a low-cost bookkeeper for 2 or 3 hours per week to handle all of your accounting needs. The person should be able to keep the finances, reconcile, and help prepare everything for you. You'll need to provide your CPA come income tax season. If your business plan is to take payments online, you can use Stripe. There's a number of different merchant accounts. It's simple to install, and most websites and the rates are competitive, and the money goes directly into your business bank account within 24 hours. Here's your second task. Take your proof of identity documents to your local bank. Sign up a corporate bank account. Sign up for an accounting software and enroll in an ADP payroll program. Now, I know all this might seem a bit overwhelming, but it's just part of the process. Next up is trademarks. This might be one of the most important legal lessons you'll learn as a startup. I've seen too many entrepreneurs for years have to change their company name because someone else trademarked it before them. A trademark is a unique word, symbol, name, or device used to identify and distinguish the goods of one seller for goods of another. Think the Nike swoosh, for example. A trademark allows the seller to protect what's trademarked from use or misuse by competitors while building brand loyalty among repeat customers. Trademarks also help prevent confusion in the marketplace or manipulation of consumers who try to associate distinct attributes, in particular with quality, with a distinct brand. From a branding perspective, the following are assets that can be protected as a trademark: logos, names, taglines, and packaging. However, these assets can only be trademarked if they meet certain qualifications. A word or phrase that commonly used or already connected with other product or service is the same industry cannot be trademarked. For example, a generic term like search engine cannot be trademarked, but a unique name like Google can be. However, if your name is generic, but used in an industry that's typically not related to the meaning of that term, you may be able to trademark it. But a good example would be Apple Computer. Your logo and a tagline are some of the best candidates for trademarks. The first is this test: is it unique? What makes a logo unique is the combination with a symbol, with a company name, the special relationship of the logo's colors, and even the spaces between the letters. If your tagline is unique phrase, it can also be trademarked. Hallmarks: when you care enough to send the very best, tagline connects to the Hallmark brand and attributes quality to its products. This tagline helps to distinguish the Hallmark brand. So what's the process of filing a trademark? Luckily, it's not necessarily expensive to trademark something. In the United States, whoever establishes priority in a trademark is usually considered the owner of it. In other words, if you're the first company to use a unique mark to identify your products or services, you don't need to register your mark to gain the rights to it. It must, however, add the trademark symbol like TM to mark you're claiming rights to it. It's still not as suitable to register your mark through the U.S. patent trademark, which establishes ownership beyond a doubt. What I recommend starting off with is a trademark search. You can do this by going to uspto.gov and use their trademark search function. It's important to know that every trademark is within a classification. For example, if you trademark Nike in the athletic shoe class and not in another class, someone can start another clothing company called Nike and you could do nothing about it. My advice is trademark in all the classifications you're using, and in the future it is better to be safe than sorry. If your plan is to have your company becoming international, you also want to apply for international trademarks in those countries as well. But don't get too overwhelmed. You could focus on that stuff later. Once the last piece of advice: the more you differentiate your brand from others in the industry, the easier it will be to protect it. Choose a name and logo that distinctively identifies your business and will protect it from competitors. Here's your third task. Do a trademark search to ensure your business is not infringing on another company's trademark. Second, if you're on the clear, go to LegalZoom and file your trademark within the U.S. Patent Trademark Office. After completing this module, you'll have completed the following steps. You selected and filed for a legal entity, and you set up a company bank account. You signed up for online accounting service. You've enrolled in a basic payroll service. And you've possibly set up an online payment processor. And lastly, you filed for a trademark for the name on the logo. Last up in today's module is how and why do you write a business plan? First, I'm going to ask you this. How do you define success? Is it wealth? Is it early retirement? No debt, freedom, freedom from a schedule, time with your family? Is the answer to this question that should become the foundation for your entire business plan. Too often I see people going to business in search of freedom and to gain back the 40-hour work week only to be trapped in an entrepreneurial hustle, now working 70 to 80 hours a week. A business plan is meant to plan your unique version of your success. If every element is not going back and supporting your personal definition, then you have a problem. Recently, someone asked me why they needed a business plan if they were getting all the funding they needed from friends and relatives. It sounded to me as if they were thinking that a business plan was just to use to go as a fundraising tool. In fact, a business plan is much more than that. It's a tool for understanding how your business is put together. You can use it to monitor progress, hold yourself accountable, and control your business's fate. Of course, it's a sales and recruiting tool for recruiting key employees or future investors as well. In 2006, William, professor at Boston College and longtime entrepreneurial researcher, studied several years with Boston graduates to find out how much better those who started businesses with a formal business plan did than those who didn't. We can't find any differences in units, in the other words, but my team found out that entrepreneurs who began with the formal plans had no greater success than those who started without it. That's hardly a final word, though. His colleague, Professor Gardner's, also set out to study the idea. Going into the study, he was very skeptical about the value of business plans. But after he and his colleagues looked at the data, from the research he found that writing a business plan to greatly increase the chances that a person would actually go into business. Yes, you heard that right. You're 2.5 times more likely to get into business if you write a formal business plan. Now, contrary to popular belief, everyone has a business plan, whether it's mental construction, never committed to paper, or a more advanced description jotted down on the back of an envelope, or a complete formalized plan we're going to outline here today. What's an effective business plan outline look like? A quick note we do have is to show you and discuss the process in more detail. I recommend you watch it before writing your business plan. The business plan starts with an executive summary. This is a one-page overview for your company and investors. You'll be able to make the decision about investing in a company and not just on the document alone. Then we move on to section 1, company overview. Mission statement, vision statement, and core values. What's driving your heart? Where do you see the business going to 5 to 10 years? What are the 3 to 4 things that are keeping you focused? What's the customer's pain? What's the customer's problem? And how are you solving it? The executive team. Who are the founders, key executives, investors, advisors, and potential board members if you have a board? Company org chart. The current staff structure include freelancers, part-timers, and near future positions, which are all currently not fulfilled yet. Next is section 2, product and operational overview. Product overview. Discuss and show the physical details, sourcing, supply chain, manufacturing process, packaging, shipping, and even the technology behind your product. Customer overview. What are the demographics? Data, market trends, and benchmarks for your customer. Marketing overview. What metrics will you be monitoring? What's your social strategy? Who are your influencers? What's the online advice strategy compared to traditional advertising or PR? A SWOT analysis. Build 4 quadrants and list your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Lastly, financial and industry overview. 3, 6, and 12-month financial projections include your revenue, your expenses, your gross profit margins, and their profit. Capital needs. How much do you need and why? Use of funds schedule. Show exactly how you will be spending the money. Exit strategy if it applies. When will you like to sell? For how much and to who? Competitive environment. List all the 3 potential competitors and their strengths and weaknesses. Lastly, contact information. If the plan is going to be passed around to potential investors and all, add the appropriate contact information, including your cell phone number. Let's say you're up for the task. You've decided to write down your very own business plan. Here are 4 amplifiers to a strong business plan. Revised quarterly. A business plan is a living document, is not meant to be written and thrown aside. You are expected to follow it and revise it each quarter. Short. The shorter it is, the better chance it has of being read. A business plan may contain fluff. Keep it straightforward and to the point. Support your version of success. If you use the IRS, stress the plan should not be in high risk. You want the freedom. The plan should support systems that don't require all of your time. Be conservative. It's always better to underpromise and overdeliver than to overpromise and underdeliver. Keep your projections conservative, relatable, and achievable. Be realistic. Show deadlines that are actually possible. numbers that have evidence to support them. Remember, no one is impressed by spreadsheets. It's the action behind the spreadsheets that truly count. Don't have any numbers that you can't explain instantaneously. If you don't understand it, it's the core. It shouldn't be in the plan. Here's the fourth task. Complete your 15-page business plan. I know today's session seems a bit deep, but as I said at the beginning of this coaching, these are critical components to your success. Get past these hurdles so we can move on to the fun stuff. This concludes our session today. Here's what we've learned. The difference between a sole proprietorship, a corporation, and an LLC. How to set up a strong financial banking structure. Why it's important to lock down your trademarks. And how to write an effective business plan. You have 4 heavy camper tasks this month. Define what legal entity is best for your business to formalize. Take your proof of entity documents to your local bank. Sign up for a business bank account. Sign up for accounting software and enroll in ADP payroll program. Do a trademark search to ensure your business is not infringing on another company's trademark. Lastly, complete your 15-page business plan. Next, to finish, you'll want to read the module PDF short pack down below, complete your study guide and checklist. This shouldn't take longer than 90 minutes. Also pick up a copy of this month's recommended reading, audio work print, before moving to the next lesson. As you've likely realized, going on to the other areas before finishing this module will cause you to go back and fix or completely start over the things you've already worked on. Once again, this is a long-term program for a reason. Your business can take up to a few months to get off the ground, but stick with the schedule and complete your tasks. And I will see you on the next lesson. Take care.